I know for you, you've also, I believe, if you correct me if I'm wrong, I know in Media Lab you also help with AI and like, helping generate and also doing a lot of like automation of things, right? In the company. Now, I guess for you, have you found? Because obviously you've worked with a lot of people and probably helped a lot of people with automating with AI and things like that. And some people know it and some people don't know it. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
find a lot of people don't know it. But what do you find were some like key mistakes people did with using AI in their business and like what they should be doing?
Um, I think for me, the main mistakes that people make is probably about trying to. So it's almost trying to kind of get it perfect from day one. Because the reality with what we do when we start integrating AI into, and so by the way, so when we talk about AI from a go-to-market perspective, we use AI to kind of like automate. How do you identify your next clients? We also use AI in the way that we build automated outreach. So it's like kind of like automating your outbound kind of motion. And we also use AI into building kind of personalizing your kind of messages to your audience. And I think sometimes people are trying to kind of get it absolutely perfect, like, and then they won't go live or they won't kind of test the water until everything kind of is absolutely perfect. The reality is like, that's almost the wrong way to look at it, because you need AI to make mistakes to kind of get better. And that's across the board, right? So if I look at what we do as a business, is typically the first thing we look at is that how do we define your ideal customer profile? And so most companies come to us and say, oh, well, my ideal customer profile is online retailers with that amount of visitors, and they're very kind of static in the way they define their ICP. And for me, it's like, well, what about we try to identify specific patterns and behavior that your ICP is currently showing, and so then we can start using AI to identify signals. And realistically, the size of the size of the business you're selling to doesn't become irrelevant. Don't get me wrong, because you still, if you've got an enterprise software solution, like there's no way trying to kind of like engage with an SMB audience. But at the same time, sometimes people are a little bit too rigid in the way they define the ICP. So what we do is you always try to take a bit of a step back and go, hey, what about we start looking at the patterns or the specific signals? We can go, well, if someone has just raised, $10 million, that's probably a good indicator that they're going to be investing in XYZ. And it doesn't matter if they're like on the lowest side of your ICP, because they've just raised a bunch of money that is telling us that's a great signal for you as a SaaS company to kind of go and target them. And that's just one example, right? It could be, we do a lot of work around hiring patterns. So what we do is we use AI to kind of track hiring behavior. So typically, as a business, if you're hiring, whether it's salespeople or marketing people or technical people, that can give us an indications of, well, if you're hiring those kind of roles, you're probably growing or you're probably trying to kind of build something new. So depending on the solution that you're marketing to those people, that could be a good indicator to go, hey, this account should be part of your ICP because they're showing the right behavior.
Interesting. So people should never expect, I guess what you're saying is basically don't expect AI to work the first time perfect as you set it up. And there's going to be changes as you progress and as you learn, as the AI is learning from what the customer wants or what you guys need or what anything like that.
Yeah. And sometimes the way I kind of explain it is like, usually AI is only going to make mistake once.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you don't let AI make that first mistake, they're never going to learn from it. So it's almost like you kind of need to let the AI make the mistake and then from that mistake, they go, okay, well, this is not the right way. And then it just becomes better and better and better. But if you try to get it perfect, ultimately, if you try to get it perfect, it's not AI, it's workflow automation, or you're trying to kind of like identify all the different possibility, which is kind of the opposite of what AI is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of people, especially now in companies, between, you know, voice calls and, you know, AI chatbots to like on websites, right? They're always trying to get it perfect. And sometimes you'll find that there's mistakes, but they kind of learn. You have to let them make mistakes so that they can learn and they can actually function properly. Because it's like if they're trying to be perfect the first time, that's never going to happen. You know, because they're you know, they're robots. They're not really real people. But you know, it's kind of like you have to let them do it.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, it's just, the reality is like, we're still people selling to people, right? When we help a tech company engaging with an audience, the reality is like, you still have people on one side selling a solution or software to other people, right? So you kind of need to kind of let that process of like, almost like human behavior, and
Yeah.
human do learn. If you think about the way you've learned as a kid, the reality is like, you typically learn by making the mistakes. And if your mom and dad don't try to kind of keep you away from making those mistakes, typically you don't learn as quickly. And
That's true.
it's just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
it takes you back, I guess. But
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know, it's very fascinating because what I think is also too is like, you know, we have to use, you know, we're now in the age where everyone sort of just uses AI in some shape or form. And it's like everyone should know the ability of how to do it. And I guess for you, because obviously you help people with a lot of different areas of AI and marketing, I assume, right? And so for you, um, what do you find is like, you know, people should be doing in like marketing or anything like that with AI? Like, what do you think that would be a more powerful tool for people that, because I'm sure a lot of people, what they really want to do is they want to, you know, market themselves and get themselves more. Because, you know, ultimately AI is used to help us make money. That's kind of the basic of it, right? So how can we use it better to make money from our business standpoint and marketing and sales, anything like that? I know it's a big
Yes.
question.
No, it's it's an interesting one. And I think and I don't want to kind of give you a too vague of an answer, but for
Yeah.
me, it's almost like, my biggest tip would be hire AI native.
Hmm.
Because uh, so Media Lab ultimately is a team, is a bunch of like GTM and AI engineer that kind of almost, we're born with AI. So I feel like the average age across my GTM engineering team is probably about mid-20s. And so at the moment, like, my biggest, I guess, not concern, but probably focus is like, how do I make sure I bring the right people into the team? And typically for me, it's like, we need to hire critical thinkers. We need to hire people that almost were born with AI, even if it's a bit of a stretch. But um, if especially if you're in a position of, you know, if you're a founder of a company, or if you're in that kind of stage, we're trying to kind of get away from corporate world to kind of start your own business. For me, it's like, I've learned so much by, even just through interview process, like talking to people just come out of university with a AI engineering kind of degree, and they just look at it in a different way. Because typically, me, with the experience that I have, I try to embed AI into what already exists, right? So you've got your business, it's working, it could be profitable. And I'm having a lot of discussions at the moment with, you know, CROs and CEOs and head of customer experience and CMOs, and they're all in the same, you know, they've been in business for 20, 30 years, and they're being told that they need to spend money on AI. So I was having a discussion the other day with a CMO of a large tech company, and they were like, okay, well, they've been mandated by the board that they now have to report on how much money they're spending on AI, how much money they're spending on like AI training across their team. And so they're looking at this and going, I don't know where to start. But they're still looking at it from a lens of, how do I bring AI into what I'm currently doing? I think this is the wrong way to look at it. We need to kind of flip the coin and go, no, let's start from scratch. AI should be the center of whatever you build in your business. And I'm still, even me, which I kind of feel like I'm in a positions where I'm not an AI expert, but I feel like I understand AI very well, and I've surrounded myself with like AI native. And it's still hard for me to kind of go, no, you're looking at it the wrong way.